Welcome to our webinar today. It's great to see you all virtually. Our webinar today is MSP Masterclass, Lessons on Driving Growth and Profitability. I'm Michael Siggins. I'm founder and publisher of the ChannelPro Network, and I'll be your moderator for this session today, and I'm thrilled to guide you through this illuminating discussion. Before we delve into the heart of our webinar, let's take a moment to set the stage. In a landscape rife with challenges ranging from managing increased workloads to navigating fierce market competition, growing an MSP business can undoubtedly feel like an uphill battle sometimes. However, amidst these challenges lies a wealth of opportunities to grow revenue, improve operational efficiency, and increase profitability. These opportunities include leveraging technology, streamlining operations, improving customer service, and as always, we love innovating. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from three successful MSPs who have seized on these opportunities. Over the next hour, we're going to discover how they've successfully grown their business and their profitability. So get ready to be inspired and equipped with best practices and actionable tips to fuel your own growth journey. If you've got any questions for us, please feel to drop them in the Q&A box, and we're going to do our best to address as many of those questions during the Q&A session at the latter end of the webinar today. Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of our webinar today, Syncro. Syncro empowers MSPs with the tools and automation to run their businesses efficiently and to provide world-class IT services to their customers. It's all-in-one professional services automation, PSA, remote monitoring and management tool, RMM, and remote support software solutions help MSPs to streamline operations and achieve business success. Syncro is dedicated to empowering its MSP partners to thrive through operational excellence, fostering growth and profitability. I'm excited to announce that Syncro has a special promotion of up to 6 months free for today's attendees to make switching from your existing provider much easier and much more attractive. Please indicate in our poll that we field in just a little bit if you've got an interest in the promotion, and the Syncro team will reach out to you with more info. All right, now, without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our esteemed panelists today. We've got Gord Hynes, CEO of the Network Zoo, Stacy Roszel, owner of BComp Services, and Jeff Putnam, owner of PC Wizard. I'm going to ask each of them now to share a little bit about their backgrounds and their businesses. Gord, why don't you kick us off?
Thanks, Michael. My name is Gord Hynes. I have been in the IT realm since I left college in 2008 and have run some form of my own company since 2013. Our company, Network Zoo, really took off and came to fruition of its own sort of life in 2018 when we incorporated. My wife and I decided that being a partnership was great, but maybe having some protections might be better. So we incorporated, and since that time, we've gone from just the two of us to as many as 3 or 4 technicians, and we're currently sitting at 3. It's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thanks, Gord. Stacy, welcome.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you. My name is Stacy Roszel. We have a IT company based in Westminster, Colorado, just north of Denver. We've been in business as BComp Services since 2006, but we were another small IT company before that. We've got 4 technicians currently. We've had as many as 6 and some other admin help going, and yeah, we have customers that have been with us for like 20 years. And so that's kind of what we want to focus on, is fantastic customer service and, those longstanding relationships.
That's great, Stacy. Thanks for being here. And finally, Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Putnam, the owner of PC Wizard. We've been in business since 1997 in the hills of Connecticut. We started the company back when I was in high school. I'm dating myself now. I had a business prior to that when I wasn't old enough to actually register a business, and I was servicing small businesses in the area, some of which are still customers to this day. We just celebrated 31 years with one of those customers. It's nice to build those relationships, and it's been a key part of our success. We have 4 technicians now, a great group of folks, and we serve really any industry you could think of. We don't really specialize in any area. And we have some offices where we are the expert, they call us, and they have their own internal IT staff. So it's been a great 27 years, and look forward to the discussion today with the other esteemed panelists.
That's great. So we've literally got decades of experience to share today. So I'm looking forward to this. All right. So without further ado, let's jump into the discussion. And we're going to uncover some of the secrets to unlocking successful growth and profitability. Gord, we're going to start you off. Can you give me a bit of background on your business journey and how you grew it successfully? Like, what kind of obstacles or challenges did you have to overcome?
Sure. So when I started with IT in 2008, I was lucky enough to have a really good mentor who was a very strong supporter of doing things with the best practice in mind. That involved a lot of meetings and discussions around what we should be doing, and I mean a lot of that is the standard issue, like industry standards today. But we pushed ourselves into an ITIL framework so that we follow the best practices as designed by a framework of policies, and it really has worked. So in 2013, when I left that group of people and started my own company, we had about 7 clients. It was just me. We worked under a sound umbrella of another bunch of companies, and that really doesn't matter. We're about 100 clients now, and there's around 1,000 computers that we service. Every bit of our growth has been word of mouth. We have never done $1 worth of advertising aside from a Facebook site and a website and that kind of thing, but nothing where we actually put marketing money into something. And I've always made it my goal that the client's needs are the forefront, and we don't ever oversell anything a client doesn't actually need. You can sell anything to anyone if you really wanted to, but if you're not going to do it with ethics in mind, then you're not going to be successful. And our success has been because of my goal to be that way. Also, if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm a very social person. I love to talk, and I can be friends with everybody. So that's been obviously quite helpful as well. We don't funnel ourselves down any one industry, although we have seen that most of our growth has been in the fruit production industry. In the valley here, there hundreds of thousands of tons of fruit every year go out of the valley. So we've managed to get into some of those industries, which has been great. As to challenges, and I think that goes to any small business, is trying to grow a new business with a young family. Like when I left in 2013, my son was 4 months old, and I, with my wife, she had all the faith in me, and that was great, but we really did it on a wing and a prayer to get this thing going. And so, you could pick challenges from anybody, and our challenge was obviously the financial aspect of things to get started. And we've been lucky enough to have worked hard enough to get to where we are today.
Gord, it's a great background. Thank you. Stacy, a bit about your journey, obstacles, challenges that you overcame.
Yeah, so we initially were all word of mouth, and like Gord, which is the best. Those are the best clients. The clients that you receive from recommendations from your other clients, those are the ones that stay around. We have done some advertising and seen growth that way, but I think advertising in this market is getting harder, and people really want that personal connection to somebody who's going to have access to basically all of your information. So that's something that we've found to be difficult, is like cold leads I think it's pretty hard to convert on, and sometimes it could take a lot of time and effort to gain that trust. Part of our growth problems that we've had is hiring and maintaining skilled labor. So it's really hard to find technicians who are capable that in the way that you want them to be, and keeping them when you get them. It takes a long time. And so having somebody who is able to dedicate the time to finding the employee that matches with your ethics and your morals, because they represent you. Just like when your kids are out and about and doing stuff in the neighborhood, it reflects on you, your employees reflect on you. And so that's been one of the struggles and that we've dealt with, is maintaining the employees for that growth. So when you're growing exponentially, maintaining those employees and providing that excellent customer service.
That sounds great, Stacey. I just want to point out, Peter had just sent in a chat while we're talking, saying that he just really feels like he's in the right place with peers because of your backgrounds. All are very similar to kind of his journey as well, it seems like, as far as size and things like that. So we hope all of you feeling really comfortable today. Our panelists have really varied backgrounds, but they share a lot of commonalities in their journeys and what they think is important to success in their measurement for them and for their customers. So Peter and everybody, thanks for being here. All right, Jeff, sir, I'm going to go right to you on this one.
Sure, Peter, I'm going to keep the story going for you out there. We also have a very similar background. We are always word of mouth. The only kind of advertising we ever do has been those little pamphlets that the kids do for the placemats in restaurants, like the fundraiser type things, where we tell them, look, go ahead and sell it again if you can. We're not trying to advertise. We're supportive and a member of our community. But just like Gord and Stacy, we've been all word of mouth. And besides that, it gives you a kind of a linear growth as well. You don't end up with 50 new customers walking in the door the next day. So it's kind of helped with our peaks and our valleys as far as demand. But I can't agree with you guys more. The quality of the customers you get from word of mouth and the relationships you can build just from the get-go, because it's not a cold call. There's already some inherent level of trust because the person who has referred you has not done so, just out in the middle of nowhere. They believe in you and that relationship, which carries over to the new customer. I think it's an important piece for everybody to realize that, that our business is based on customer service and that longevity. Almost all of our customers have been with us a very long time.
All right, so it sounds good. And Jeff, let's stay with you. As you've grown your business, talk about the technology, the processes, the workflows that have had the greatest impact on your success. It's like, how have you leveraged tech such as RMM and PSA to run your business successfully?
Automation. It comes down to being organized and automation. I shouldn't even admit this. We used to do all the scheduling, out of Microsoft Outlook for 3 people. It was horrible. The billing was copy paste into QuickBooks. The amount of wasted time that we used to do. I see Gord and Stacy like, oh my God, really? Yeah, please don't tell me this.
Agreeing with you, Jeff. Just agreeing with you.
But
we used to use Excel spreadsheets, and the amount of lost time that you had is insane. And so having that tracked better makes a huge difference.
And I was fortunate enough, my mother actually worked as our office manager for about 15 or 16 years. So she had the patience to not see it change. But really, as time went on, we brought other tools in. We used to use a prior RMM tool before we went to Syncro. And we actually started with Repair Shopper. We did it in pieces. So we joined Repair Shopper for the PSA side, just the appointments and the tracking of the tickets and things like that. And then about 1.5 years later, we went to Syncro. And my biggest thing in the office is the more you can do in a single pane of glass, the more efficient you can be. And that really was probably the biggest technological change in our office from a procedural standpoint, not having to copy paste and errors and automations that really let us show a customer that we're one step ahead. We can call them proactively rather than reactively. And these tools let you do that. It makes for great customer relations when you can email them and call them and say, hey, I saw this happen. Could you take care of it, or do you need us to take care of it? So really, those tools, even with our backup software, automation has really saved us a ton of time. I'm sure you guys probably have similar stories.
And Jeff, I must say you're probably in the minority where your mom actually knows what you do at work.
Yeah. She does. She put 18 total years in, and I couldn't have done it without her. I mean, I was 16 years old before I was PC Wizard, and there's a little 2-line cordless phone on the bed in the morning before you went to college for the day. And if it rang, somebody was taking a phone call. I mean, they're embarrassing stories from when you first started. We all have them, but but it's a part of what made us all what we are today, right? So you wouldn't be where you are. We wouldn't be on this panel if we didn't figure out how to navigate the challenges of being an MSP. But yes, kudos to my mother. She certainly made it a lot easier over the years.
And it's kind of almost Mother's Day in the Mother's Day zone. So thank you to all the moms out there who made it possible for all of our journeys. Okay, I'd like to go to Stacy now. Talk about, technology and kind of helping.
So I think it's a fun growth path with technology. Jeff, like you, I think as your company grows, you have to kind of take a better look at what's working and what's not working. Initially it was tickets would come in, initially it was tickets could come in through email, AIM, all of these old deals. And then finally it's like, wait a minute, we have to have it one source where people can come and contact us, especially when you grow and you have more technicians. And so we went to a system where we were billing out of one system and ticket tracking in another system. And we would, correlate those two at the end of the month. And then we moved to a larger RMM PSA just before COVID. We went live on it just before COVID in 2020. And we were with them until August of last year when we switched over to Syncro. And it's always evaluating what technology is working for you and what technology isn't serving you. And that goes for within your company and what you're recommending for your clients. And I think it's very important to be flexible in that. the provider that we were with previously was extremely expensive. They weren't flexible. The tool was slow, so our technicians didn't want to use it. And so when we were looking at making a switch, we wanted something that was quick, which was Syncro is, super quick. There's not a ton of lag time, and their pricing is not flexible, but it's a different pricing structure than a lot of the other RMMs and PSA agents
And
that you look
fair.
out there, where it's fair. It's super fair, where it's, you're not locked into 5-year contracts with auto renewals and, whatever. And so I think that was something that led us over here for this part of the technology.
All right, Gord, to you now about leveraging tech to run your business successfully.
Well, it just, again, continuing the same story, right? I mean, prior to Syncro for us, we were ticketing through Freshdesk, which, I will say Freshdesk ticketing was great, but there was no way to integrate that into the RMM side of things. And the RMM side of things at the time was a company, I think, called Goverlan, which had merits for being good, but then turned out to be not very. So when we moved over to Syncro, I spent 2 months going through Google and Reddit and opinions from other colleagues that I have in the in the area here, Vancouver, and into Calgary and Edmonton, because I'm in BC. If anyone didn't catch that part, I'm the only Canadian on the panel today, I think. Hey, so moving into Syncro though, like when I did that, we did it. I think it was 2020, end of 2020. So like during COVID, we made the switch into Syncro. And in the first 2 months, I think I saw a 40% drop in the tickets that were coming in, simply because we had scripts in place to fix things that were a problem, auto patching software, auto patching Windows, just to make things work. And it honestly, it saved us. And then like 3 months later, we got the phone call for our biggest client that we've ever had and still have today. And it just allowed us to make that growth really, really quick without having to panic about how we're going to support it.
All right. Let's move on to our next topic, customers. We all know we'd be nothing without customers and without our moms, but we already covered moms. So let's talk about acquiring customers. So Stacy, we'll start with you. Has acquiring new customers, has it been a challenge for you? And what tactics have you used to acquire new clients? And maybe was there an evolution from certain tactics that either did or didn't work in the beginning, and then kind of where you're at today?
Yeah, I think, this was kind of covered a little bit earlier, where our best customers and acquiring customers, the best is from referrals. We've tried Google Ads, and for us, Google Ads was very much, it was immediate success when you first turned it on. You would get calls way back in the day when we did it, but then it would die off. And so we would turn it off and stop spending the money, and then you would turn it back on, and then you would get a few calls, and then but it doesn't behave like that at all anymore. So that's been difficult. And I think a lot of times customers recently, a lot of the feedback that we've been getting is, well, I'm all in the cloud, why do I need an MSP? And so just educating the client on what we can do from them, how we support them, why they need somebody there. One of the things that we always tell our clients is, we're your advocate for your vendors that you're dealing with. And, we know the questions to ask your vendors. So it's like going to, a dentist office and them saying you need a root canal, and you don't even know the questions to ask. Okay, why do I need a root canal? What's the purpose of this? And so I think when you get on the phone with tech support, they use a lot of jargon that may not be familiar to you or that you would understand as a customer. And their job is to get you off the phone fast. And our job as your provider is to keep them on the phone and fight your battle. And so, but I think, anyways, that wasn't the question. The question was getting and maintaining customers. I think that's something that we need to explain to them. And, when you explain that, they're like, okay, well, maybe, but it's still, I think a lot of people now feel like because there's the cloud, our jobs aren't needed as much. So I would say, yeah, it's harder.
Yeah, and I've got a dentist appointment Thursday, so I'm going to be rewatching this part of the webinar. I'm going to go armed with the right questions. All right, Jeff, acquiring customers, what worked, what doesn't work, what's your go-to?
Sure. Stacy, I agree with you entirely. There's another piece to it with that customer trust. You say with tech support, right? And being there to advocate for them for tech support. We also try and advocate and educate the customer that, look, we're not the outside vendor as much as we are an outside vendor. We are a part of your team. You should view us as not an opposing force to you, but as a force that's there to work with you. So when we talk to people, look, don't call us after you've already bought your new dental in the cloud software. Call us before, because you know how it goes. I mean, the salespeople don't know the technical side of it in most cases. So they present you with the solution in the office, dental, medical, whatever it may be. They get stuck in a bad spot without our help. And you try and be there to show them, hey, this is not a bad idea. This is a great idea, but this is how we really should implement it to protect you and your interests. Even things like in the contracts, when you look through, that customer trust gets built when you point out to them, hey, you need a way to get your data out if you ever decide to go somewhere else. There's just little things like that building of trust. And we don't advertise either. Like we said before, it's just building those relationships makes introducing us to new people so much easier. We've done a couple Chamber of Commerce events and things where you get to go meet people. We've occasionally been a part of some groups in town, which is great. It's great to meet people, but those relationships are what actually build your business in our opinion. Gord, what do you got?
Thanks, Jeff. Gord?
Really just the same, I think. It's not been, we haven't really looked for a ton of clientele over the course of the last 10 years. We've had a lot, well, everything has been word of mouth for us, like I said, right? I think at this point, though, word of mouth is great, but if you want to stick into like a vertical, so like with us with the fruit packing stuff, there are only 2 or 3 companies that do fruit packing lines of things, like the cherry lines that we're talking about, like we discussed as a little group earlier. There's a cherry packing facility here in the valley that has 40 some lanes of cherries that flow through. They can process 17 tons of cherries an hour. That's only done by 2 companies in the world. One of them is based out of Italy, and I think the other one's based out of Germany or France. So for like going forward, when we want to generate new clients, we'll be leveraging the partnerships or relationships we have with those vendors. So, you want to talk to the Unitex of the world, or the Moffs of the world, or whoever is going to be doing down your whatever vertical you're chasing, get find inroads to the vendors that provide that for the end user, because then you can have the conversation with the salespeople who are selling to your potential client, and you can preemptively have the stuff that you need to provide that client as part of their kind of talking points to the client. So then they go, oh, we need that stuff. Well, we've heard, and then the vendor says, oh, we work with Gord at Network Zoo, and then they call me, and then lo and behold, there's 3 more clients that we didn't really have planned to take over, but now they're there because they need help and they don't know what to do. And I'll say, for the fruit packing industry, they're farmers. They're not IT people. They're not dentists. They don't work on computers every day. So they really, really don't know. And so they really do need that help from from a trusted MSP like us.
All right. And I want to get to a couple of questions that have come in that really pertain to this. And so all of you have mentioned the importance of word of mouth, and you can't buy that. I mean, you all earn that. But Norm had a great question, like, what if we're just starting out? Like, if there is no word of mouth, what some strategies to get those first couple? Like Gord, you just kind of mentioned some of that specialization that can help with that. What about like Jeff or Stacy to add to that? Where did you start? Where did you get the first one, and how did you convince them to be the word of the mouth for maybe the second or third customer? Stacy?
I think there was a lot of home users to start, which isn't very helpful, but friends and family, they know they are your advocates. So when you're providing, my husband, when he first started out, he would go and work for friends and family, and, dinner afterwards would be great, right? And then they referred him onto customers or onto friends, and then it grew from there. One thing that we tell our technicians, one thing that we talk to people that we work for is every employee at whatever company you're working for is just as important as the CEO. They can take you to whatever job they go to next. So obviously, people, especially now, more so than 10 years ago, people jump from job to job. And so your goal is to make such a good impact on each and every customer that you deal with, that when they leave and they go to a new company and they see like, hey, their IT is totally jacked. Oh, I know. I remember our IT was great. I want to tell them my IT was great. We should use them. So that's, that's the goal, is to, even though they might have only been only a secretary or an assistant or whatever, that's your goal, is to have that impact on everybody and not just pay attention to the higher ups.
A lot of truth to that, Stacy. Just to add a slight bit, we started that way. We started all residential, and we ended up the people who were the residentials worked places, and they would bring your name forward to work, and it just kind of branched off like that. So to the people who are starting new, they say no stone unturned. Don't discount a stone that you may not necessarily think is going to get you a new customer. Getting your name out and just doing some of that basic work. If you just start residentially, your name will get out there, and good service is good service wherever you give it. So if you treat everybody with the respect they deserve and you have build those relationships, the customers will come.
Yeah, and Jeff, Chris had sent in a comment which dovetails nicely with that, saying like getting customers takes time. Many of their managed clients started with a one-off project, before you were able to convince them to sign a 1, 2, 3-year deal or whatever to manage all the IT services. So Chris, thanks for that. Norm's also got
just something that we do. Sorry, Michael. Something that we do is, while we have an agreement with all of our customers, we have a 30-day out. So just like Syncro, we believe in earning our spot with our customers every single month. And I think that just solidifies that trust that you have within your team and within, with them, where they don't feel like I'm stuck with them and I can go and look somewhere else. But because we do a fantastic job, we don't lose customers every month, right? Like, I think I would recommend not having 3-year contracts.
Totally. Or
because we wouldn't fight for it either, right? Like, if they decided to leave, we wouldn't go and sue them for the rest of the contract. So why have it?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so then excellent points. Norm was asking about cold calling. Have you used it? Have you tried it? What's been the results that you've gotten with cold calling?
Never have,
Not
never
good.
will.
Yeah, never here either. The only time we'll sometimes make a call is if somebody tags us in a Facebook post of some kind. They'll tag us and say, hey, you should talk to this person. And the original poster will write back and say, oh, great. That sounds great. Sometimes we'll make a call like that. But if I have it, never a cold call. It's not solicited. It's exactly a waste of time, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess, you don't like getting them. And so you don't want to make them yourself, right? So, your customers won't. Here's a question. This comes up a lot with what we do with ChannelPro is someone is asking that we've been a break fix company and now we're building the infrastructure so we can be managed services now. How do we gently transition existing break fix customers without alienating them with a longer commitment or maybe a higher price?
The way that we do it, not to jump on Jeff there. Yeah, I know he's about to talk too. The way we've always done it with our clients is we take the last 12 months of billing and average it over those 12 months. So if it's 600 here, 200 there, whatever, take that 12 months of bills, divide it by 12, and then make sure we include all of the tools that we need to have included in there, and say, well, you've spent X, we're going to add Y because that's our tools that we want to have for your stack, and there's your cost, and then it's guaranteed. And then we do generally have a semi-annual or biannual, whatever, twice a year, we sit down with our clients to make sure that pricing is still fair. Sorry, Stacy, I saw you laughing. We try to get in touch with our clients at least twice a year to make sure everyone's on the same page and happy. Go for lunch, take them out for dinner, go grab a beer at a hockey game if there's a hockey game on in town, that kind of thing. Those are the things we want to do, and then it helps strengthen that relationship because then we're not just a vendor and they're not just a client. There can be a bit more to the relationship.
We had a similar, that actually is exactly what we went through. We were break fix entirely. We still are, break fix to an extent. We don't do contracts. We don't do all you can eat. Our time is all paid for, on an hourly basis, which may cause some, there they are. Yeah. Oh my God. But really, we had to transition people based on their needs. It's the security. just the whole security of the world in IT is so different now than it was when we all started as break fix, right? You could get away with just regular antivirus and call me when something's broken 20 years ago. You can't do that anymore. So transitioning those customers to the pieces of your stack and showing them why they need them. It's not just, we never sell something to somebody they don't need. It's a conversation like Gord says, hey, here's what you're doing. Here's the cybersecurity insurance policy requirements that your insurance company is sending you. Here's how the best way we can meet these needs, not disrupt the users entirely and just make it a good experience for everybody. That's how we've had to do it over the years. And I say had to, that's how we've wanted to do it, to gracefully bring people into modern technology without showing up at their door going, we don't do break fix anymore. We're not going to talk to you unless you sign a 3-year contract. We don't have a contract, period. Somebody is welcome to leave whenever they want, but to all of our credit, they don't, because we do represent the customer the best way we can.
We also started out pretty much break fix. A lot of our customers were on service agreements, but only because we were agreeing to a 24-hour response time. So they were all billed hourly, but they wanted reassurances that if their server went down at 10 p.m. on Saturday night, that we would respond. And so that's where our contracts came into play. You're going to pay us a monthly fee. We'll work off of that monthly fee. If we don't use all of it, it will roll over to the next month. If we do use over it, we'll bill you for the additional overages. That's where a lot of our customers started out. We did blocks of hours where, you're buying 15 hours of time, and then, we renew as needed. So when we decided to move to MSP, we took our clients and said, look, things take longer than you want them to take in IT, unfortunately. It's more complicated than it used to be. There's a lot of stuff that we have to do that you wouldn't view as billable, like as a customer. You wouldn't see that that's viewable. We write scripts to run for these automations. We do that work over multiple clients, right? So I can't bill each client 0.25, write a script for this 0.25. I mean, you could, but it, and so we said, we came to them and said, we're going to change our model from hourly to all you can eat. And we lost a few clients. We lost some of our smaller clients. But for the majority, most of them understood like what we were talking about. And, Gord, you were saying that the semi-annual reviews with your customers, that's a really good way to create new projects, right? So even though we're an all you can eat, that's all you can eat for the majority of your services. It's not all you can eat for everything. If you want to move up and move locations, if you want to buy 20 new computers, there's some stuff that's not included in that, that's spoken about in advance. And so those semi-annual reviews are a great way to create more business without getting new customers.
Yeah, and so great stuff. And there's been some great interactions too going on in the chat. I do want to go back. We're talking about building the relationships, providing services based on what the customers need. And it seems like our guests today are pretty much in agreement about the contract thing isn't for them. However, for a lot of people it is. And, some of the questions were, hey, I heard that, contracts are important, right? I mean, especially for some service delivery, to be able to, build them in advance, to have predictable monthly recurring revenue. And what is a common topic, and maybe it's going to be for our next webinar, but when you're considering the valuation of your business, the more business that you have under contract generating recurring monthly revenue, the higher the valuation your business will get. So I wanted just to ask our panelists here if they had, if they were doing contracts at some point and got away with it. I know we just spoke a lot about not having them, but do you want to react to that about contracts impacting the valuation of your business, predictable revenue, or do you feel like you've already kind of covered your position on it?
We've never done contracts at all, really. But I get the point from an exit strategy. But I wonder if that point is a little less important if the owner is going to stick around for a while. We've had a lot of, if you're leaving and you're selling and you're leaving and you're not coming back, those contracts probably put a financial value on your company more so. But most of us have built these businesses over 2 decades, et cetera. I don't think any of us have really probably given it that level of thought, which we probably should have. But it's just not something that we've considered. We've never had anybody really bother us for a contract unless they're a subsidiary of an equity company. Somebody who requires contracts. Some of our town customers require an agreement of sorts for what we're going to do in writing. But I don't know about you guys. I haven't had anybody who's ever really made an issue of a Loctite must have a 3-year contract. Have you?
No, we do. Like, maybe it's a miss. I misspoke when I said we don't have contracts. We do. All of our contracts are 3 years with options to renew, but they all have a 30-day out, because in reality, if I'm not providing the service that I have promised in the contract, or conversely, if the client's not listening to the recommendations and requirements that we have in place, we have the right to terminate the contract. And we've done that one time with a financial client, actually. Jeff, funny enough, he was a friend. And so I guess going back a little bit further, because I've been kind of looking at the chat too, asking about initial customers. A couple of our customers, I did do a BNI group once for about a year. It was not great for me. Like, it wasn't a good experience. It was a lot of money for not a lot of return, but we did get a couple of things here and there. And if nothing else, you meet people. And like Jeff said, with the Chamber of Commerce things that he's done, we have this thing called Downtown After 5 that goes on, I don't know, 6 or 7 different months of the year, and there's 400 or 500 people there. But a lot of that is really just, it's introductions. You're not going to land big clients and big contracts in a Downtown After 5 where everyone's drinking wine. You're going to meet people, and then you're hopefully going to get that yourself stuck in their brain, so when they need something, they can know to reach out to you. I think that's how we've done our thing. And like, again, just on the contracts, get 30-day out, but have a contract, because it's important.
Yeah, with Gord, we have an initial contract, but everything is with a 30-day out. So yes, we have a contract, but really, mentally, there is no contract there. And we have our monthly reoccurring revenue. Our customers know the bill is coming. It's, that's all the same. But mentally, we earn our spot with our customers every month. They can tell us, on the 15th, hey, we're not going to renew. And then they're no longer a customer, or we can tell them. And I think Gord, what you're saying, that's important, because not every customer is a good fit, and learning to see that and figure that out is important. And it's hard. It's really, really hard to decide that a client isn't a good fit. But there's been a couple of times in our company where it's like, we can't work for these people anymore. Like, it just, what they're asking for us, we aren't willing to do. They're not willing to do what we're asking them to do. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons as to why a customer may not be a good fit. And honestly, we've had some where it's just personality wise, you don't get along. And, as your company grows, you can say, okay, the technicians can take over more of that. But when you are a baby company and it's only 2 of you working there, there's very little diversity that you can come up with. And so being able to say, okay, that's not a good fit, and move on, I think is important.
Michael, if I can add something to that super fast, you guys talked about the personalities and the right fit for you between the company and the customers. But I think it's also important for the other MSPs and people looking to get into the business on the call to realize that your own staff has to be held to that same, and it's such a big piece that, we hire people to join our team. And a large part of that requirement is that you would handle yourselves the same way that we do, and that we can get along as a group. Because, it's hard to find people who can talk about technology and talk, with a customer rather than over a customer, or not have that personality. And in our line of work where we're at, that customer relationship is huge. And if I hire somebody who can't talk to a customer, or you don't want to talk to your customers, that's just as important as the relationship between you and the customer is that morale and the types of people you hire to be a representative of your company.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. And by the way, I'm watching the chats, and some really good chats are to everybody, so everybody can kind of skim that while we're going through here. But all right, we definitely want to move along. The clock is flying by here. We got a couple more things to get to. Gord, back to you to start with. How do you go about selecting a technology platform for your business? Did you consider several vendors, and how did you ultimately arrive at your decision? What was most important to you or influence you when you finally did settle on kind of where you're at now?
Well, if we want to stick to Syncro, because that's why we're all on this today anyway. Yes, I went through all of them, I think, that were available that I could find readily talked about on, especially Reddit, because people, oh, it's a, I mean, it can absolutely be the dev, like a hole you fall into and never come out of. I understand that, but there are a lot of intelligent people that use those subreddits that really can give information without giving up information, right? So we went through, we looked at Atera, we looked at Syncro, we looked at renewing with that Goverland one. We looked at using Fresh Service, but it didn't have a remote management part like piece. It would only have the PSA and the ticketing. We looked at Ninja RMM, and as great as Ninja is for what they claim they are, and they are really good, their per endpoint pricing didn't align with what we were going to do. Like I said, we have 1,000 endpoints in our, give or take anyway, in our realm. And even at the lowest price that I've heard from Ninja, that's more than double what I pay through Syncro. And, like that's it. And really, it's probably a lot more than that because we have 2 technician licenses that we use for one or for 2 separate clients. Our 2 biggest clients have an internal IT manager that also uses Syncro as a technician. So if you take those out, then it's more like 3 times that I pay to move over to Ninja. So like that's a huge one. I mean, and as for other technology platforms, for me, it's about vendor relationships. I can pick up the phone. I can see that Charlene is actually on the webinar today. Charlene is my rep for Syncro. I can pick up the phone anytime I need to, and I can call her. I know she'll answer the phone, or she'll get back to me within an hour or 2, and that's fantastic. We leverage that same thing for all of our vendors. We are a Sophos partner, so as Sophos Vancouver office is 4 hours away by car, or I can fly down there for an hour and spend 2 hours in an airport. I don't really know, but whatever. If I need to, again, I pick up the phone or I, go down there. We do dinners, we hang out, whatever. And then our other biggest partners being Scale Computing, it's the same thing. I can pick up the phone and I can call my guy, and they get back to me in very short order. And so for me, it's the tight-knit community of vendors that really drove me to Syncro, because right from the get-go, knowing they're in Seattle, which is a 6-hour drive away for me, that is close enough that I can go down there and wring someone's neck if something goes really, really wrong. And I never have had to do that. So the good news, right?
Oh, Gord.
I know, right?
I love it. But yeah, to your point, that is the similar for us. We've been Syncro really is started as repair shop, or prior to that, it's PSA side. So we started in 2017 with them. We've been with them a long time because we've grown. I mean, they answer phone calls. They will work collaboratively with you. And when you have a problem and you make the case, if you put the effort in and you take and make a compelling case, they will work with you to make things better. And that's the same with one of our other vendors. We've had our backup vendor for 10 years. We've used MSP 360, and it's similar. You have people who will answer the call and they'll work with you to do things. And we started when these companies were small. I mean, it's smaller than they are now. Syncro's way bigger now than it was in 2017. But we've tended to find the most success with starting with something that was still going to grow, so it could grow with us. That's been our version of the success story. What about you, Stacy?
So we came over from our previous RMM PSA, which was ConnectWise, and we were ready to renew with ConnectWise. We had no thoughts of moving, and our senior engineer, he's the one that put a lot of like, hey, I don't really want to renew with them, and our invoice with them was going to go up 30% year over year, again, for the second time. And we had a very, very short time to decide who we were going with. So we chose Syncro, honestly, because it was month to month. And so it was like, well, we can try Syncro, and if we don't like them, we could bounce. We can take the time to find another RMM that we want to use and get it set up properly and do what we need to do. And it's a pain to change this software, but at least we'll have something in place and we can move if we need to. We have no desire whatsoever to leave Syncro. We had met with Ninja RMM. We had met with Kaseya. Like, we had met with a bunch of them. But when it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get a response from sales, what do you think their customer support is going to be? And so the availability, just the quick interactions with Syncro that we had at the beginning where, they were responsive and they, we want to choose a vendor that wants to earn our business, because that's how we are as a vendor to our customers. We want to earn your business. We want our vendors to want our business. And when you're working with a vendor that could care less whether you come or go, to me, it's like, I don't really want to be that close partner with you. You don't care if I'm there. I don't really want to be there. So when you're working with these vendors or the, other IT solutions, when you can actually make relationships, that's when they work the best. And so, Syncro has been great. Jeff Jordan was there with me. Syncro just hosted a partner advisory committee where they got maybe 10 different of their clients in a room, and we discussed their roadmap. We discussed what features we wanted. We discussed how it works and why it works and if it works for your company or not. And I think that just goes to show that they want to earn our business and keep our business and provide the best product. And this isn't a Syncro sales call, but that's why we choose vendors is based on, those relationships that you can have, like they said.
And I think also it's just really important to remember, like, that you're never going to find a perfect company to work with. Syncro has its drawbacks. There's no question about it, but I mean, what you'll find, at least what I've noticed lately, is the complaining that will go on about one certain aspect of any one platform, be it Syncro or whoever else, it doesn't matter, but we'll pick on Syncro because this is what this call is about. That one thing is one thing out of 1,000 that they do. And, I just, maybe I am an eternal optimist, and I really truly am, and I'm not sorry for it. I will look at the positives and I will find the glass half or 3/4 full. I will never find that it's empty. And like, for what we've done and how we've grown over the last 6 years, I don't think I could go away to another vendor at this point that isn't Syncro, because one, I'm ingrained in it, and it would be really hard to train our clients to look at something new, because that would suck. And two, like, it does the job very well for what we need. We have 3 technicians, sure, but our caseload, our ticket load has dropped probably 30% in the last 4 months, because we put more things in to automate more processes away. You just find ways to be more efficient, and Syncro will help you to do that. And that, at least as my experience says.
Thank you very much for that. Those insights are really great and being well received by a lot of our audience today. All right, we're going to shift gears right now. We talked about a poll, and we are going to bring the poll up right now. So I mentioned this at the top of the webinar today, so I'm going to give folks a chance for that to please respond to that. And then we are now going to go into what we call Q&A mode in our remaining 10 minutes or so. So please vote, and then we'd love your attention back. And so if our VIP panelists are ready, we're going to go into some lightning Q&A, okay? All right, first up, so let's see. This is from Jay. Jay says, how did you migrate from your previous PSA RMM? Did you start fresh? It's one of my sticking points to moving to Syncro.
We migrated. We exported our data from ConnectWise and imported it into Syncro. And it wasn't perfect. Not everything imported over, 100% perfectly. There was a lot of cleanup that needed to be done, but we didn't want to lose all of our previous data. So we had, 4 years of ticketing data. Every once in a while you want to go back and say, oh yeah, what happened there? So we exported it and then imported it.
We came from Outlook, so we didn't have a whole lot to import. The tasks don't really line up with customers if there's no customers to be attached. But we had SolarWinds RMM prior, and we were only using it for a subset of customers back in 2017. So we didn't actually bother to. We just redeployed. We ran scripts and moved them all over. But we were with Repair Shopper, so that being the same PSA as Syncro, they imported it over for us. It was seamless, and here we are today.
And we just took our Freshdesk licensing down to the free mode and left it there. And then I think, if I recall correctly, it's been a while, it's been like 3 years now, 4 years. I think we did an export of the customers to CSV, which we were then able to import into Syncro. But because Freshdesk, not Freshservice, but there's the desk side, doesn't do any scripting or anything like that, we did all just net new scripts when we got over. And I think that worked. It worked well enough for us. Again, it took a couple months for us to get really situated and really working well with Syncro. But the client data that had to move over at that point was, a few hundred endpoints. It wasn't a big deal.
I think one thing is, I had mentioned earlier that when we decided to move from ConnectWise to Syncro, we had a very short time to rev up. We had 30 days to rev up from when we decided we are moving to Syncro to when our services were getting cut off. So compare that to the nearly 9-month rev up time that it took us with ConnectWise to get everything, we had to go and put in every client and go and set up all of this and go and set up all of that. And it wasn't perfect, like Gord said, when we first started using it, but it doesn't have to be perfect, right? You get it started and you make it better, and you just do a little bit better every day. I think
It's a living thing.
It's a living thing, and it's going to change, and you continually have to change, right? So one of the things that Syncro does is it auto creates clients for you, which is, somebody calls in, or it has the ability, somebody puts in a ticket, it says, oh, I can't find who this ticket is associated with, I'm going to create a new client. So we have to go and clean up our clients every once in a while and pare them down, or whatever situation you have, there is management that continues to go on with it. And but it was an easy start up process for us.
All right, question on billing. How do you do the bill? How does billing work with Syncro? Someone's asking, the QuickBooks, is it FreshBooks or other kind of books? What else?
We use Xero on our end. We used to use QuickBooks, but in the state of Connecticut, there are 2 tax rates. Our labor is billed at a different rate than our parts are, which makes a nightmare of the sales tax when you do an integration with QuickBooks. So we actually moved to Xero. We do monthly billing, everything, all of the tickets get their time charged to them. They drop into a resolved status, and an automation runs at the end of the month that just swoops through per customer and grabs all the tickets and all the billable charges and exports them over to Xero. We send all of our invoices out right from Syncro. The invoice is customizable, and we haven't had any problem. But I'm not sure what Gord and Stacy are doing, but we've been happy with the invoicing side of it. And the link to Xero works great now that synchronizations have been flawless over the last year.
So I'll say, and then I'll ask. So my wife hasn't bought in entirely to the whole automation thing yet. So we are QuickBooks Online, and she does everything right now, going through a list and paring things down and making it manual. So that's, I'm sure, way too much time and effort for her, but there's only so much of fighting I can do when it comes to her time. It's her time. She can do with it as she wishes. But Jeff,
man.
Right? I try. But on your side, now that you're doing it all through Syncro, my question is, if you have a ticket that has 15 entries in it from just back and forthing on emails or what have you, have you figured out, and maybe this is not a fair ask because I don't know exactly how yours runs, but we have a lot of times where it's back and forth for a couple of weeks, depending on what the issue is. When that gets dumped into an invoice in Syncro, that is this long on one thing. And I would love, and maybe this is something for Syncro to take away from this, is I would love to be able to pare it down to the subject line of the ticket. If customers are really curious of what time is in there should be a link to go open ticket in the user portal, but that's not really the point of what we're getting. I use QuickBooks Online. It's all manual.
I'll say that we use the ticket number as when it pulls in the charge at the end of the month, it puts the prefix of the ticket number in the charge. So we can go a part of our monthly billing agreement with the customers is, look, we are not going to put every last detail of what we did on your invoice because it would be 17 pages long. So a part of the benefit of doing it monthly is it references the ticket number and a brief little blurb. But to your point, yeah, it would be 13 pages long for a back and forth. So we've just done it that way. The automatic one throws the ticket number, and then a customer can go look it up if they so chose.
I might want to connect with you on that one, to be totally frank.
So we use QuickBooks Online as well. I do a hodgepodge of out of Syncro and then just through QuickBooks. Our monthly contracts, our recurring invoices are set up in QuickBooks, not in Syncro, just because it didn't work the way that we wanted it to work. And so that's our workaround, right? That's, one of the things that Gord was saying. It's not perfect, but you make stuff work. So our monthly recurring invoices are all done through QuickBooks, and all of our hardware and sales come through Syncro. We do the process within Syncro, and then it syncs seamlessly to QuickBooks, which is something that's really nice. Previously, we had to pay an additional fee. It was about $1,800 a year for an integration between ConnectWise and QuickBooks Online. And so the fact that we didn't have to pay that anymore was like awesome.
All right, it looks like I got maybe one more question here. And by the way, the audience, you guys are just killing it here. We have awesome questions. I'll work with the people behind the scenes. Maybe we could answer some of the unanswered ones and send them as follow-up. There's so many good ones. But for all of our attendees, please scroll through the chat. There's some good takeaways there for you. Okay, so this last question here. We use Syncro RMM and have begun using automation and many of its features to make our workflow easier. Good for you. How do I market and relay the usefulness and features of this system to our customers without confusing them with tech jargon they may not understand? That's the million-dollar question right there.
So a lot of our tickets that we have, a lot of our tickets that have scripting or automated, we actually create a ticket for it, and our customer sees that on their invoice. Yep. So it's something that it brings value. You didn't have to call me to do this. This was done for you. It's our knowledge that created this for you. And so that's how you can show that value. But really the value comes when they don't need to call you. Mm-hmm. That's the true value.
Yeah, it just works, right? That's what everybody looks for. It just works.
And I'll tell you, that's a great thing to bring up when you have it used to be like, QBRs, you should all be meeting for, occasionally over the year with your customers. And it's like to be able to show them what you've done for them and what they haven't had to worry about. I mean, to reinforce that value with them, that these things are going on and they are up, they are working more efficiently, and it's because of you and your tools. So there we go. All right, so we're gonna wrap up right there, and but with a few thoughts here. I want to express my gratitude for your participation today, both our panelists and our attendees, and I want to thank you guys very much for your valuable insights today. And let's remember that automation isn't just a tool, but it's a strategic imperative for MSPs seeking to thrive in today's competitive landscape. So now it's time to put this newfound knowledge into action. Whether you're just beginning your growth journey, like some of us on the webinar are today, or looking to optimize existing processes, please take these insights that we've shared today and start implementing them in your own MSP business. None of these things were like a 5-year plan. All this stuff you can work on today, tomorrow with your team. So we want to thank you all for being here, and also wishing you all and your MSP continued success. Everybody have a wonderful day, and we will be back in touch with follow-up to a link with the recording and some additional information. Thank you to our panelists. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, everybody.
And thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Gord.
And a very special thank you to Syncro for making it all possible. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next time.